How's it going, guys? Randall, aka Shizukats here on the Tressa's Collectibles channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the recently released Rent-A-Girlfriend set. This is a set that's been out in JP for quite a while and is anticipated in the English version thanks to its beautiful main heroines that we're going to be taking a look at in our cards today. So first of all, let's take a look at what we're working with. So we're going to be opening one of the trial decks and one of the booster boxes. Notably, this is the new to English booster box structure compared to the old vertical box. This is a box structure that has been in the Japanese version of Weiss Schwarz for quite a few years now, and it has finally come to English. So this new box format does come with a new number of packs as well as different pack ratios, but we're going to take a look at those when we get to the booster box opening. And we're going to be starting off with the trial deck, but before we get started with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the beautiful case topper playmat that you guys can get. This comes as a one of in each case compared to the 4 playmats that you would get that don't have the stitch edges if you order a case of the English original sets. So without further ado, we're going to get started with the trial deck. Get right into it. So within a sealed case of trial decks, you do get 8 displays of trial decks, each which contain 6 trial decks apiece. And within each of those displays, you have a chance at getting either a triple R foil or even an SP. And SPs are usually 2 SPs per sealed case of 48 for the case of Rent-A-Girlfriend. So let's go ahead and take a look at the contents of the trial deck. So first of all, you do get the usual additions that are helpful for new players. You have a paper playmat that you can use to play on, and on the back of each playmat there's usually some details about the set that you've purchased. In this case, the Rent-A-Girlfriend set. You can see some of the details on some of the cards in the trial deck as well as a full list of the cards in the trial deck itself. And you also get the quick player guide that can teach you, if you're new to the game, some of the rules that you might need to know in order to play Weiss Schwarz. But of course, we are here for the cards themselves. So let's go ahead and crack open the trial deck and take a look at what's inside. So these trial decks are pre-constructed. They come with 50 cards, and it's always going to be the same 50 cards every time. And there's the possibility to get those foil variants like the triple Rs and SPs. But first thing we're going to take a look at is our guaranteed foils, which are both at the front of this trial deck. So first we have the level 1 Chizuru. She has an on-play ability that allows her to gain power based on the number of your Rent-A-Girlfriend characters on stage. Rent-A-Girlfriend being the central trait of all of the characters in the set. And additionally, she has an on-attack ability where she can choose any of your Rent-A-Girlfriend characters and give it 1500 power until end of turn. So her pairing of abilities allow her to not only make herself big with the on-play ability, but also potentially buff your other characters or make herself even stronger with the on-attack buff. So it's a very solid card if you're looking for level 1 options. And we'll go ahead and take a look at our second foil, which is the level 1 Ruka Climax combo. So a unique thing about this trial deck is that you are actually getting 2 Climax combos, whereas most other trial decks, you're usually only getting 1, either the level 1 combo or the level 3 combo, whereas in this trial deck, you have access to both. So for our level 1 combo in this deck, we have the level 1 Ruka. She climax combos with the gold bag climax. Gold bag, not exactly a climax that's very commonly seen. And she has a very simple but effective climax combo where when she reverses her battle opponent, you can choose a character from your waiting room and add it to hand. So it's non-reverse salvage. She gains an additional 1000 power if you have 2 or more other Rent-A-Girlfriend characters, which is pretty easy to achieve. So you have a very solid 5500 body and a very simple but effective climax combo. Now let's move on to our level 0s in the deck. So first off, we have 2 copies of this level 0 Mommy. She is a front 500 assist, as well as giving your other character in the front row center slot an additional 500 power. Not the most extraordinary of cards, but it does help you buff up your bodies so that you can have a more secure board. And one big recurring theme of this deck is it has some very strong offensive options. So you're going to see a lot of high power on your own turn, and this Mommy with her dual assist abilities will allow you to bolster that offense even higher. So Our next level 0 is the Chilly Gaze Mommy, which is a 4-of in the trial deck. Having really good cards as 4-ofs in your trial deck is very good if you only plan on opening 1 copy of the trial deck, because that means you have just 4 copies ready to go. A lot of the time, people will recommend that players buy 2 copies of a trial deck if they want to have a full play set of everything, but because high quality cards like this Mommy come as 4-of, you might not need to necessarily do that. So this Mommy is a level 0 2/5. She gains 1500 power if you have 2 or less stock. A very, very solid early play beater, or early game beater at 4k power. And this is something that you could consider playing into your actual decks. This is just a very solid profile overall. And the next level 1 is the other 3 copies of the Ruka. So just like the level 0 Mommy, it's very nice that this deck has access to a full play set of the level 1 combo that you can use, even if you only buy 1 trial deck. Our next level 1, going into some of the high offensive cards that we hinted about before, is the level 1 Ruka, 105k power, but on attack, if you have 2 or more other Rent-A-Girlfriend characters, she gets an additional 2000 power, bringing her up to 7k, so some very nice offensive numbers. And between all of your level 1s, like the level 1 Chizuru that has the on-play power and on-attack buff, and this level 1 Ruka, you can get some very, very high offensive numbers. Next up, we have the 1/1 Ruka counter. You can use this backup to increase the power of your character being attacked by 2500 power. And notably, this counter being a 1/1 and has a soul trigger could be useful if you want to potentially run Choice Climax in a more optimized build, as Choice Climaxes have the ability to grab cards with soul triggers out of your waiting room and either put them to stock or add them to hand. And so this is a counter that you could consider running with that package. Next up, we have 2 copies of the Ruka Level Assist. It's a pretty basic card, but at the same time very effective. She is a level assist that gives 500 power to 500 power times the level of the characters that she's assisting. And in addition to that, she has an on-play effect where you can draw 1 card and discard 1 card. So this is a pretty good option for filtering unneeded cards out of your hand, trying to get something better, but also that level assist ability also very useful as well. Next up is a card that you only see 3 of here, but that's because the 4th copy is at the very back of the trial deck. Typically, when you open a trial deck, the cards that can come as a triple rare or SP will be the ones at the very back of the trial deck, and so this is one of them. So we have this 2/1 Ruka. When she's placed on stage from hand, if you have 4 or more other Rent-A-Girlfriend characters, you can choose a Rent-A-Girlfriend character from your waiting room, put it into stock. So this essentially comes into play as a 2/0 if you can play it into a full board. And when it attacks, you can give any of your characters, or sorry, this card gets plus 1000 power times the number of your other Rent-A-Girlfriend characters you have until the end of the turn. So this allows her to potentially reach a maximum of 11k power on the offense. Again, playing into that central theme of a lot of cards in this deck of having very, very high offensive power and allowing you to really just break opposing boards no matter how high they are defensively. The next card we have is a 2/2 Mommy. She gains 1000 power for each of your other Rent-A-Girlfriend characters, bringing her up to a potential maximum of 11k. And just like the Ruka that we just looked at, the reason that there's only 1 copy here is because at the back of the trial deck, you do have a chance to get this particular Mommy as a triple R. So one notable thing about this Mommy is that typically these high-powered 2/2s are very good candidates for standby if you want to play standby climaxes in your sets. But in this set, there's actually a different card that you could potentially bring out with your standby climaxes rather than just a big 2/2, which we might get to look at later if we open it in our packs. And our last green character is the 3/2 Sumi. She has an on-play effect where you get to look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 from among them, add it to hand and send the rest to waiting room. And then she also has a level 3 or lower clock bomb effect where if you have 2 or more other Rent-A-Girlfriend characters and she gets reversed, you can send the opponent's level 3 or lower battle opponent to, or you can send the top card of your opponent's clock to waiting room, and then if you do, you can send the opponent's level 3 or lower battle opponent to the clock. So this is one way that you can hard remove your opponent's characters so that if they have a very valuable character that you don't want them to keep around, or something with Encore, something like that, you can just get rid of it and not have to worry about it later. In addition, the top check 3 effect, very useful for finding specific cards you need. Maybe you need to dig towards that extra climax for an extra push, or you just want more characters. Very useful ability overall. Looking at our climaxes, our first climax of the deck is our gold bag climax, which we looked at earlier with the level 1 Ruka. And so we get 4 of those. Now moving on to the red, we have the Kazuya Bonder. So this Kazuya has an on-play effect where you can pay 1 and bond to the 1/0 Chizuru Vanilla. So the Chizuru doesn't do anything on her own, but the Kazuya also has a secondary ability that gives all copies of this Chizuru an additional bonus 2000 power during your turn. Again, going into that theme of high offensive power, allowing these Chizurus to reach 7500 power. And in addition, that bond ability just letting you get a nice +1 and allowing you to retain hand advantage at the same time. So we'll go ahead and pull these out. Next, we have the level 0 Chizuru Brainstorm. So this is a Brainstorm 4, whereas some of the more recent sets in the Japanese and English format, for example, Ruby, recently released, has a Brainstorm 5 in their trial deck. But seeing as Rent a Girlfriend in the Japanese version has already been out for a while, and this is just mirroring the effects that they have in those, this is only a Brainstorm 4, unfortunately, but still a very effective card, allowing you to use that Brainstorm ability, go through your deck, maintain hand advantage, and also her secondary ability is quite strong as well. At the start of your main phase, you get to look at the top card of your deck, and you can either decide to leave it on top of your deck or send it to Waiting Room. So you can do plays such as looking at the top, and if you see that it's not a climax, you can send it to Waiting Room and then potentially Brainstorm, and you get to dig 1 card deeper into trying to hit that climax. There are also some other plays that you can do with this, which we can take a look at. There's another Chizuru in this trial deck that we will take a look at soon. So the next card we have is the level 0 Kazuya. So this is actually a really, really strong card for this particular trial deck because it does have that pair of climax combos, whereas a lot of other trial decks, they only have 1. This Kazuya, when he's placed on stage from hand, you can discard either of the climaxes to salvage the other one from your Waiting Room for free. So normally climax swappers require you to pay 1 stock because they are not limited by the names of the climaxes, but this particular Kazuya can only allow you to swap between the Ruka Gold Bag and the Chizuru Gate Climax. And so in a way, that is also just a big benefit, even though you're limited to your climaxes. Not having to pay that stock cost is very nice, and it allows you to flexibly grab whichever climax you need depending on what point you are in the game. So like, let's say you have the gold bag at level 1, or let's say you have the gold bag at level 3, but you need to get the gate. You can play the Kazuya switch, or if you need the gold bag at level 1 and you have the gate, you can switch that way as well. So very, very nice card, and very, very useful for this deck since it has those double climaxes. The next card we have is the card that can come SP in this trial deck, which is the level 0 Chizuru. This card is basically the same card as a very common card that you guys might be familiar with in the English metagame, which is the level 0 Toka from Data Live, as well as the level 0 Itsuki from Quintessential Quintuplets, among other cards. It has a very, very strong pair of abilities that you can activate in either order, depending on which way you want to order the abilities. On play, she can reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is a Rent-A-Girlfriend character, you add it to your hand and discard a card. And also on play, you can discard a Rent-A-Girlfriend character to draw a card. So this is a card that synergizes very well with the level 0 Chizuru that we just looked at, since the Chizuru at the beginning of your main phase allows you to peek at the top card of your deck. You can decide whether to leave that card on top if you want to filter it into your hand with the level 0 Chizuru, or you can send it to Waiting Room, try to dig for something else, maybe dig towards Brainstorm, something like that. So another very, very strong trial deck card that you can definitely consider playing this in optimized builds. This is a very powerful effect pairing. Next up, we have the second copy of the level 1 Chizuru, which is the foil that we saw earlier. Then we have our level 3 combo, 2 copies of the level 3 Chizuru. It's a very simple card, but very effective. On play, you heal 1, and then when she attacks, if you have the gate climax in the climax area, you get to deal 1 damage to your opponent for free. So very, very useful card, very simple, but very useful. Our last red card that's not the climax is the 2 copies of the 1/1 event. So this card allows you to search your deck for a Rent-A-Girlfriend character, add it to your hand, and send this event to memory. So for those of you who are familiar with That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, this is basically the exact same card as the 1/1 Anti-Magic Mask, although this doesn't have a level 0 Chloe to grab this out of the deck for free, unfortunately. Lastly, before we get into our potential foil slots, we do have our 4 copies of the Gate Climax that goes with the Chizuru. And now moving on to our last few slots, we have the 4th copy of the Ruka, the 2nd copy of the Mami, second copy of the Sumi, and unfortunately, we did not pull an SP out of our box. So, but this is the full package that you get out of a single trial deck. It's super playable out of the box with those double climax combos. So definitely, if you're looking for a trial deck that's a little bit more advanced to get you started, because this one does have the double climax combos, definitely look into potentially picking up the Rent a Girlfriend trial deck and trying this one out. Now, without further ado, let's get onto our booster box so we can open some booster packs and take a look at what the set has in store. All right, guys, so now we have our main attraction, the booster box. So before we open up this box, let's go ahead and go over the changes between the old box format and the new format. So obviously, as you can tell, the shape of the box is very different, very flat. And the number of packs in the boxes has changed. Previously, it was 20, and now you are getting 16. And so I'm sure a lot of people are just like, wow, you're getting less packs, they're ripping you off. But the number of cards and also the distribution of cards that come inside each booster box has changed overall. So despite getting 4 less packs, you are getting 1 more card per pack. So it's going to be 9 cards per pack instead of the previous 8. And this results in less cards overall. Instead of getting the previous 160, you're getting 144. But as I said, the distribution of cards that comes in each booster box has changed. Previously, on the old format, if you got a double R or a foil, it would replace the rare in the pack unless it was like very specific sets. Whereas in this box format, you are guaranteed a rare in every single booster pack, even the ones that have double Rs or foils. So this means that you're guaranteed 16 rares, whereas previously you would only get probably 14, and you are still getting the double Rs and foils that you would normally get. So with these boxes of Rent a Girlfriend, I'm pretty sure the ratio of double Rs and foils is either, you either get 5 double Rs and 1 foil, or you get 4 double Rs and 2 foils. So hopefully we can pull something good out of this box. And then one other thing that's actually a distinction between the English boxes and the JP boxes is that in the JP packs, if you have a double R or a foil or anything like that, it would be in the very center of the pack, the 5th slot of the pack, which is what a lot of people refer to as the flex slot, as that 5th slot could be a double R or it could be like a common or whatever. Whereas in the English version, if you pull a double R or you pull a foil, it will be towards the back of the pack. Basically, the flex slot actually just goes with the cards that would normally, what's the best way to describe this? The location of the cards in the pack of that rarity, it goes with those cards. So if you pull a common in the flex slot, it will just be with the other commons. If you pull an uncommon in the flex slot, it'll just be with the other uncommons. All right, now then, with that out of the way, let's get into the booster box itself. So we have 16 booster packs here to work with. Let's quickly take a look at our box topper PR. The 3/2 Sumi. This is quite a strong card. She gives 1500 power to all of your Rent a Girlfriend characters if she's in your front row. So this is a pretty good card. If you want to play standby, you could potentially look into playing this, as bringing this out at level 2 can just bolster your board to be extremely powerful. Additionally, when she attacks, you can pay 1 stock, and if you do, she gets 1000 power and on reverse top deck until the end of the turn. So when she reverses her opponent, you can send it to the top of the opponent's deck. And this not only serves as removal, because you're preventing your opponent from encoring that character or anything like that, but it also allows you to potentially make incoming damage easier to inflict because you just put a character on top of their deck. All right, now with that out of the way, let's get right into our booster packs. So first of 16 packs, and hopefully we can pull something good along the way. All right, so for our first pack, let's go ahead and take a look at some of our commons first. So we have some very nice commons. And seeing as our 5th slot is another common, that does mean that our flex slot was a common and we do not have any double Rs or any foil in this pack. Next we have our uncommons. And then we have our rare of the pack, which is the 3/2 Mommy early play. This is a pretty nice card, although in a not so popular color, yellow having the least number of cards out of all of the colors in this set. But the Mommy early play is a pretty useful card. She can come down at level 2 if you have 2 or less climaxes in your waiting room, and on play she gets to top check X, so she allows you to potentially dig for some cards that you might be looking for the mid game or for the end game, or sometimes even to just replenish cards in hand. So as far as the color distribution in this set, all of the 4 heroines, Ruka, Chizuru, Mommy, and Sumi, all of them have cards in green, and then each of the girls has a secondary color. So Mommy is in yellow and green, Ruka is in blue and green, and then both Chizuru and Sumi are in red and green. So we're going to be seeing a lot of red cards, and then slightly less of like the yellow and blue, just because those colors don't have any characters sharing them. And then of course we're going to have tons of green just because all of the characters are in green. Moving into our next pack, we have our commons. 5th common again, so no double R in this pack. For our uncommons, this is a card that I definitely want to talk about. The 2-1 Sumi event. This allows you to potentially bring out a 3-2 double R Sumi while still at level 2. So if you want to play a Sumi waifu deck or a Sumi centric deck, you could look into playing this Embarrassed Maiden event, bring out the 3-2 Sumi at level 2, which is a very, very high power card. And it's a very popular level 2 package that players like to run even in the meta builds. So definitely keep a lookout for this card. For our rare of the pack, we have the 2-1 Chizuru support. So this is one that's supposed to go into a Chizuru centric deck, as it does have synergy with gate climaxes. So just like quintessential quintuplets, this set does have a lot of set design towards each of the individual heroines having their own good options so that you can build waifu decks. We're going to have some waifu decks like deck profile and gameplay coming out soon on the channel, so keep a lookout for those. But each of the girls having their own unique style and their own special options is really, really nice, and allows you to build whichever of the 4 heroines that you want to design a deck around. Okay, moving on with our commons. We have a couple really good commons here. This level 0 Sumi is personally one of my favorite pairing of level 0 effects that we've seen in other sets, such as 7 Deadly Sins, and as well as Fate Grand Order. And the level 0 Mommy, this is actually a pairing of abilities that you guys are going to see again very soon in Mushoku Tensei, which is, I believe, the next upcoming release, with the ability to bottom deck your opponent's level or cost 0 card, as well as have an on death pay 2 plus. So this card, definitely one that you can look into playing in Rent a Girlfriend as well. It doesn't have quite exactly the same dynamics that it does in Mushoku, but it's still a pretty independently strong card that you can consider playing. Next up, we have some uncommons and 3 uncommons, and our rare for the pack is a 3-2 Ruka early play. This is a card that doesn't really see use outside of, too much use outside of Ruka waifu, but it does have some very useful utility in that it has an on-play bounce effect, which you can use to get rid of some of your opponent's peskier characters with like cross-turn minus soul, or you can use it to bounce their supports or anything like that. Okay, next up, taking a look at some of our commons. Next, we have the 2-0 Chizuru event in our uncommons. This is a very, very interesting card that plays into the flavor of the Chizuru deck. This effect, or this card, allows you to send it to memory, and then the turn you send it to memory, it doesn't do anything. But on the following turns, at the start of your main phase, if this card is in your memory, it gains an ability where you can send this from memory back into your waiting room, and it allows you to summon the 3-2 double R Chizuru from your hand for free. So I really like the flavor of this card because it's kind of like paying for the date. You have to pay the cost up front, and then you get the date later on, which is the 3-2 Chizuru coming out. And this also potentially allows you to play that Chizuru at level 2, so it can be like an early play. And the advantage of this card allows you to basically bring out that level 2, or bring out that level 3 with 0 stock costs at the expense of using extra cards in your hand, which is the event itself. And then our second uncommon of the pack is another very flavorful event card, this time for Ruka. This 1/1 event, you get to put the top, so you put the top card of your deck into clock, and then you deal 79 damage to your opponent. So obviously 79 damage is not anything that's ever going to stick, but it does have that nice flavor of, if you guys have watched the anime, you guys know this scene where Ruka's heartbeat has reached 79 beats per minute, and she's realizing that Kazuya has the ability to make her heart race, make her excited, and this plays into that as well. And then you get to bring out 2 copies of the level 1 Ruka Double R, which is a card that we might pull later on once we get to our Double Rs. And I just really enjoy the flavor of this card overall. And it's honestly just a very effective card if you want to run that Ruka level 1, as being able to secure 2 copies of your combo is very strong. We have our third uncommon, and lastly, we have our rare for the pack, which is the 2/1 Sumi. So earlier when we talked about the trial deck, I mentioned that the 2/2 Mommy might not necessarily be your greatest option to bring out off of standby, and this card is the reason why. So this Sumi gives 1500 power to all Sumis in front of her, which is like, that's super strong. That's like a level assist, except instead of only giving 1500 power to level 3s, it gives 1500 power just to any Sumis. So this allows you to just buff your Sumis up to really, really high power, and is a big reason why a lot of people like to play the Sumi package in their like meta optimized builds. In addition, she has additional effects where you can rest her to give a character 500 for the turn, and also at the Encore step, if you have the level 0 Sumi Brainstorm in your level zone, you can discard a card and draw 1 card. So she allows you to basically filter cards out of your hand at the end of every turn for free. And having the Sumi Brainstorm in your level is a condition that a lot of other Sumi cards have as well. So she basically goes into a Sumi package in that sense. All right, moving right along. Okay, we have our uncommons. And we have our first rare in the 7th slot. So because the rare is in the 7th slot, that means that there is either a double R or a foil behind this. And so we have a 2/1 Mommy. This is an assist, and she has a climax combo. This is not a card that you see used very often because you don't want to really be using your climax combo slots on like a level 2 back row. And then let's take a look at what card we have behind it. All right, we have the level 3 Sumi as our first double R. So this is the card that you can bring out at level, you can bring this card out at level 2 by using the Embarrassed Maiden event. She gains 3000 power if you have the level 0 Sumi Brainstorm in memory. So again, this is another card that goes into that Sumi package where you want to have the Brainstorm in your level zone to enable lots of powerful abilities. She has an on-play heal as well, and a climax combo with a gold bar where on attack she gains an ability where during your opponent's next turn, you can choose 2 of their characters and give them -1 soul until the end of turn. So potentially you are able to not only play a very big healer on the board at level 2 through use of the event, but also if you can add the climax combo into the mix, you can potentially prevent your opponent from dealing damage to you as well, which can be very devastating to your opponent, especially after you've healed down with Sumi's on-play ability. All right, off to a good start. Let's go ahead and continue. Have our commons. Our 2 uncommons, maybe a third. We do have a rare. This is another very, very powerful card with the Sumi package. So this 2/1 combo can be played at level 1 if you have the Sumi Brainstorm in your level zone. So again, playing into that same Sumi in level zone package that we've seen on these other cards so far. And she has a climax combo with the Standby Climax, where when she reverses her battle opponent, you can pay 1 stock, send the climax to waiting room, look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 4 Rent-A-Girlfriend characters or the 2/1 Embarrassed Maiden event from among those top 4 and add them to your hand. So basically, any characters or the 2/1 event that you see there, you get to add all of them to your hand. This card can be a potential +4, very, very powerful. And then you also get to give one of your characters 3k power until the end of the turn. So This card being on a standby climax is a big reason that we would want to also play this 2-1, as when we play the standby climax, it allows us to bring out this 2-1 assist, being able to give 1500 power to our Sumis, including this 2-1 combo itself, bringing it up to a respectable 8-5 power, in addition to getting that climax combo, and also allowing this Sumi to buff up any other Sumis that we might put in our front row. So very, very powerful package, but this isn't even the most interesting card in the pack, as we do have the double R behind it. So let's go ahead and see what we have. We have a very, very powerful level 0 profile, the level 0 Mami Riki. So she has that very, very potent level 0 Riki effect where you can pay 1 and hit yourself for 1 damage, and you get to search your deck for any level 1 or lower character. So this is a very, very useful ability for consistency in the early game, using your life as a resource in terms of hitting yourself. And in addition, she also has a very interesting secondary ability where when she attacks, if her trigger check reveals a climax, you can bounce any of your opponent's characters back to the hand. So this is not an ability that you expect to go off, but it can be a nice surprise, and it can just randomly set your opponent back a bit. And it can be especially useful against standby decks where they are playing these high-costed characters. If you bounce those high-costed characters back into the hand, it's going to cost your opponent an arm and a leg if they want to try to put those characters back on the board. So this can just potentially have some very, very random usefulness in that bounce effect, but you're mainly playing it for that powerful level 0 Riki ability for the consistency. And here we did pull the climax that goes with the level 3 Sumi that we just pulled. And we're getting towards the end of the first half of the box. All right. 5 commons in this pack. Here we have our level 3 Ruka as a rare. This is an interesting piece. It goes into like a 2-piece climax combo with another level 3 Ruka, where this one heals on play, and then when you play the climax that corresponds with this Ruka, you can send her to waiting room, bring out another level 3 Ruka that also has a climax combo with the same climax. So it's kind of like having 2 halves of a single card. But the payoff is that it allows the other Ruka that this changes into to be extremely powerful, because if that one was a healer on top of having the ability that it already has, it would be an extremely strong card. So this kind of limits the power of that by forcing you to run both, but the overall package between those 2 Rukas is quite strong. Okay, now for the last pack of the first half. And we are going to see a rare. This next rare is the level 0 Chizuru. So this card is the brainstorm for the Chizuru deck, or one of the brainstorms. As I was saying earlier, it's really nice that the set was designed in such a way that allows each of the heroines to have their own specific utility cards. So like each character has their own brainstorm, and this is one of the Chizuru brainstorms. Very, very powerful card. She is a brainstorm that only hits on gate climaxes. So for Chizuru decks, you're going to want to be looking to play those 8 gate climaxes. Additionally, when you play a gate climax, you get to choose one of your characters and give it +1 soul until end of turn. So this is a pairing of abilities that we've seen before on like Itsuki in the quintessential quintuplets. And there's a similar pairing of abilities, not exactly the same, but very close, if I remember correctly, in Konosuba Legend of Crimson. So very, very useful card for the Chizuru deck, promoting that 8-gate strategy, and definitely a card that you're going to want to run if you're looking into running a Chizuru, not even a Chizuru waifu deck, but just a Chizuru-centric deck. So very good card. All right, moving into the second half of the box. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we have. And we are seeing a rare here in our 7th slot, which means there is a nice card behind it. We have the level 0 Sumi. And so this is a card that you could potentially run as a level 0 option, as it does a good job of maintaining bodies on the board and making use of that stock and allowing you to attack multiple times in the early game. So at the start of the Encore step, if your entire front row is reversed, basically, the actual effect is worded a bit differently, but basically the way it works is if your entire front row gets reversed, you can pay 1 stock and you can put this back to rest. So allowing her to save herself and preserve herself for future attacks and allowing you to use her on another turn. And here we have our foil. This is the 2-1 Mami that we looked at earlier. So unfortunately, not the best foil that we could have gotten. In fact, even looking at the foiling on the card itself, it doesn't have a whole bunch of foiling. It's mostly just up on the right side of the card. But this is our first foil of the pack. We might pull a second one later on. And let's continue on in our pack opening. All right. Okay. Here we have another very useful event, the 2-1 Ruka event. This has what a lot of players would probably call like a Fumio or a half Fumio effect, where you make your opponent, you basically force your opponent to refresh, but they have to leave a climax out of their deck. So if they have a lot of characters in their waiting room, but not a lot of climaxes, this is a really, really good card to throw back a bunch of garbage and decompress them and make it easier for you to deal damage to them. So the thing is that with this card, it is in blue, which is not the easiest color to include in your decks. There are some blue level 0s that are quite useful that you can splash, but it's not usually common to have blue as one of your primary colors unless you're like running the level 1 Ruka combo. All right, next up we have another uncommon, level 1 Sumi. And we have for our rare for the pack, the level 1 Mommy. So this is one of 2 Mommy Brainstorms in the set, allowing you to have an option to search with her Brainstorm effect. And additionally, she gives 1000 power and hexproof to your other character in the front row center slot. So this could be very, very useful. And notably, these 2 cards, the Mommy and the Sumi, are cards that have art from the opening centimeter. And these 2 cards also have some very nice alternate arts on their SRs, where if you guys have seen the opening, you guys know that these particular scenes in the opening, they are doing their little dance. And so the alternate arts for these 2 cards have them basically doing like a continuation of the dance of where they are in the non-foils. So very, very cute, especially Sumi's level 0 SR, very, very cute. Okay, moving along in our packs. All right, and we are seeing a rare here in the level 1 Sumi. So this card has a climax combo with Gold Bar that allows you to stock cards from waiting room. And compared to the level 2 Sumi, this is a significantly less favorable option just because it's not giving you any guaranteed advantage. Typically, if you are going to be playing some sort of combo that only generates stock, you want to be comboing it with some sort of engine that can guarantee that you are getting cards back. A very common example of this is in the Konosuba deck that runs the Ambush Union, which has the Resonance ability. That combos very well with the level 1 Bunny Girl Union, where the Union generates stock, and then you can then use the Ambush Union as a guaranteed way to generate advantage off of that gained stock. Unfortunately, the Sumi does not have any card like that to pair with it, so not the most useful combo. And then we can go ahead and take a look at our card behind it, which is the level 3 Chizuru, one of my personal favorite cards in this set. And we also pulled it with the climax that she goes with. So this Chizuru is very, very powerful. It has a couple cards that interact with it, one of them being the 2-0 event that we looked at earlier, which is this one. So this card has an on-play heal effect, and in addition to that, she has a climax combo with the Gate, where on attack, you can pay 1, discard 1 card. If you do, deal 2 damage to your opponent, and this card gains 1000 power until end of turn, and gains an ability until the end of the opponent's next turn, where when she's front attacked, you can return her to your hand. So this allows you to keep her safe, potentially preserve her use for future turns. You know, we gotta go on several dates with Chizuru, so we can, for example, use the 2-0 event, bring her out at level 2, maybe get the climax combo off, and then when our opponent attacks her, if they're trying to reverse her, we can return her back to hand, play her again on a follow-up turn, potentially use the heal again, potentially use the combo again. And there is another level 3 that pairs with her as well that hopefully we can pull in the rare slot, and if we do, we can go ahead and take a look at that. But on to our next pack. We have, for our next rare, the level 0 Mommy. So this is a drop salvage, very, very powerful utility card. Being able to use that drop salvage ability to just fix your hand, grab whatever you need, as well as give 1k pump when you use the drop salvage effect. But she also has a very nice second effect that synergizes well with the drop salvage, which is on play, you mill the top 2 cards of your deck, and then she gains 1000 power for each Rent-A-Girlfriend character milled until end of turn. So this not only allows her to gain power, which can be very useful for running over your opponent's level 0s in the early game, but additionally, she lets you get additional targets into the waiting room to potentially pick up off the drop salvage effect, since you can use the mill 2 first, followed by the drop salvage. Another really notable thing about this card is that this card has a really nice foil art that I'm sure like a lot of people, even those that don't like Mommy very much, can appreciate her foil art. We'll go ahead and throw the foil art on the screen right now so you guys can take a look at that. And then as long as we're talking about really nice foils, I also want to give good mention to the 2-1 Sumi combo that we looked at earlier. This is another card that has a very beautiful SR art. So that is definitely one of the SRs that I would personally be looking to pull, not only because the card is useful, but just because I think the card just looks really nice. And for our flex slot, it actually wasn't a double R or a foil, but instead it was the Climax Rare for the box, or not the Climax Rare for the box, but the Climax Rare in the flex slot. So one time in your box, you will see a Climax Rare as your flex slot, and in this case, it was our Chizuru level 1 Climax. All right, we're on the home stretch here. We've got this pack plus 3 left, and we still have either 2 double Rs or 1 double R and 1 foil left to go. So let's see what we can get. We've got our commons, we've got our uncommons, we have 3 uncommons, all right? So for our rare, we have a level 1 Ruka, level 2 killer. So she gains 1000 power if you have 2 or more other Rent-A-Girlfriend characters, and also gains the ability where when she attacks a level 2 character, exactly level 2, not level 2 or higher, she gains 6000 power until end of turn. So this card is designed to be used against big level 2s. The ever popular 2/2 standbys are the most obvious target for this particular effect. Being able to attack them at 11.5 power before any other boost is very powerful in letting you clear those 2/2s off the board and try to eliminate your opponent's advantage, since typically what those standby decks are aiming to do is keep those big 2/2s on the board, and that allows them to maintain cards. All right, moving on to one of our last 3 packs. We have a rare here. This is the level 0 Ruka Brainstorm. So far we've hit Brainstorms for 3 of the main heroines. The only one we're missing is the level 0 Sumi Brainstorm, which is a double R, so we might not be pulling it in this box. But the Ruka Brainstorm has a secondary ability where when you use Accelerate, you can draw a card and discard one, plays into the central Ruka strategy of Accelerate, which is clocking yourself. And this also has very nice flavor with Ruka's heartbeat condition in the anime, with her heartbeat getting faster whenever she's with Kazuya. Definitely some very nice flavor there. And let's see what we have behind this. Our next double R is the level 1 Chizuru combo. So this is a very strong level 1 combo, allowing you to on reverse salvage a character, and then if you want to, you can discard a character to salvage another character, or the 2/0 Chizuru event that we looked at earlier. So with 1 copy of this card, you can do a lot of hand fixing, and her on reverse ability, a lot of people would argue that like, oh, on reverse is like a little bit suboptimal because you do have to get those reverses, but her secondary ability, being able to give her an additional 3000 power, that's a lot of power. As long as you have another Rent-A-Girlfriend character during your turn, bringing her up to 7k. So that's before even a climax, so she'll be 8k with climax. So if your opponent has characters on the board for you to reverse, it's pretty easy for her to get reverses with that very high offensive power. And basically, the main way that your opponent would want to play around this is by just leaving slots empty or using runners or things like that. But if you're able to get her combo off, it allows you to greatly increase your consistency going into the mid game. And it's also one of the only ways that you can consistently grab that 2/0 event if you are going for that Chizuru game plan of bringing out the level 3 using the event. All right, so we've got one card of note left to go. So let's take a look-see. Here we have a very notable uncommon, in my opinion. This level 1 Sumi has a very, very strong pairing of abilities that it has been seen in other Weiss Schwarz sets. I'm not actually sure if a card with this pairing abilities has been in English. For sure, it's been in Japanese in sets like Hinology and that's the one I know for sure. Hinology has it for sure. And Love Live Sunshine, but only in JP, I believe. But this pairing of abilities is very strong. On play, you gain 2k if you have another Rented Girlfriend character. And during the turn this card is placed on stage from hand, you can pay 1, rest one of your other Sumi characters when this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, and you get to search your deck for a Sumi. So the reason that this card is so strong is because it gives you a backup plan in case you do not get your level 1 combo or you do not get enough copies of your level 1 combo. If you're running like a combo such as Chizuru, this Sumi would allow you to be able to generate advantage without needing your combo. And for that reason, I think this is very strong. And even if you do secure your combo, being able to have a 6/5 attacker with just no questions asked, you just put it on the board is very, very strong. So I like this card a lot. And if you're playing Sumi back row, such as the Sumi Brainstorm, you have ways to allow this ability to proc, because you do have to rest a Sumi. All right. For our rare, we have a 2/1 Ruka. So this is an anti-change Clock Bomb, and she does also have a Climax combo. Usually, if you see this card being run, it's mainly going to be for the anti-change bomb, as just like the 2/1 Mommy support, typically players don't want to be using their Climax slots on like a level 2 combo, unless it's really, really good. Typically, you want to be using it on a level 1 combo or a level 3. And so for our last double R of the box, we have a level 0 Ruka. So we were able to get a double R of each of the 4 main heroines. And in this case, we have the level 0 Ruka. She has the clean cut ability, allowing you to, when you reverse a battle opponent with this, rest one of your other Rented Girlfriend characters, move it to the back row. That can allow you to preserve your characters for future attacks, or you can use this effect to rescue a character that you want to use in your back row in the future, such as a Brainstorm. All right, so that's pretty much everything of note in the double R and foil slots. So we can go ahead and open up our last pack. All right, 5 commons, 2 uncommons, and for our last rare of the box, we have a 3/2 Sumi. Another very powerful card, not only in Sumi Waifu, but also just in Sumi-centric decks, running that package that we've been talking about all this time with cards like the 2/1 Sumi, the level 3 Sumi, and the 2/1 event. So this card, on play, you can draw 2 cards, discard 1 card. And then also on attack, if you have 2 or more other Sumi characters, you can discard 2 cards. Your opponent puts the bottom 4 cards of their deck into their waiting room, and then you deal X damage to your opponent, where X is the number of climaxes that you sent to waiting room by this effect. And in addition, she also gets plus 2,000 power until the end of the turn. So if you're running that Sumi package, it's very easy to have lots of Sumis on your board to be able to use this ability. So this is a card that you can use in any deck that's running the Sumi package in order to mess with the cards in your opponent's deck. If your opponent has like tons of climaxes, you can use this card to just clear those climaxes out and just go in for basically a free win. All right, so that concludes our box opening. So we pulled these 5 double Rs. For the yellow slot, there are 2 possible yellow double Rs that you can get. So we have the Mommy that we pulled, the Riki. This is a strong level 0 profile that you can definitely run in any of your Kanokari decks, just because the level 0 consistency boost going into level 1 and moving forward is very, very useful. The other yellow double R that you can pull out of Kanokari is the level 3 Mommy. She has an on-play heal effect. On attack, you can discard a card, and then she gains Twin Drive until the end of the attack. Usually Twin Drive is a pay 1 in order to Twin Drive, so you would go stock neutral. But in this case, you can discard a card, allowing you to basically convert hand into extra stock. Her Climax combo is a very unique one in that the timing is at the end of the attack. So at the end of her attack, you can pay 2 stock, look at up to 3 cards from the top of the opponent's deck, choose any of those cards that you want, put them back on top of the deck, and send the rest to waiting room. So this is a useful ability for looking at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, seeing any climaxes there, sending those to waiting room, and putting the rest back on top so that you can more reliably deal damage on subsequent attacks. Usually this effect is on attack, such as in like Bang Dream, you have the 3/2 Mocha, or in Ruby, you have the 3/2 Blake. And it's a little bit awkward that this card is at the end of the attack, because it means that if you play 3 copies of Mommy, the third one really isn't going to do anything, because you're going to look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, you're going to rip out any climaxes, and you have no more attacks left. So like, what are you going to do? So that's definitely an interesting card that you can look into playing. It's also the only choice climax in Kanokari, so if you're looking to play choice, you could definitely look into playing that combo. Next up for green, so there are I believe 3 double Rs for green. So you have the level 0 Ruka, which is an Honorverse Rize. When she's reversed, you can look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 Rent-A-Girlfriend character from among them, add it to hand, and send the rest to waiting room, and then discard a card. So this is a very useful card for costlessly filtering unneeded cards out of your hand, or maybe even milling through the deck. And additionally, she gains 1000 power continuously if you have 2 or more other Rent-A-Girlfriend characters, bringing her up to a reasonable 3k power. So pretty good level 0 profile. Goes very well with the pretty much any deck, and the same can be said about pretty much all of the level 0 double Rs in this set. The next double R for green is the Sumi 3/2 that we pulled, and then the last double R for green is the 3/2 Chizuru, which is a 4 or more early play, and on play, she can discard a card to heal to stock. So you have many different options to go into at level 2 in terms of healers. So one option that you have, as we mentioned before, is potentially using the 2/0 Chizuru event to bring out the 3/2 while still at level 2. That is one option. Additionally, you can use the Sumi 2/1 event, bring her level 3 out at level 2, or you could just run the 3/2 Chizuru early play green double R. They're all very, very reasonable options. The 3/2 double R green is the easiest to use because it doesn't require any external pieces. So if you're looking for a simpler game plan at level 2, potentially look into running that one. And for our red double Rs, there are 3. And the one that we did not pull is, in my opinion, the most important double R that you would want to pull out of the set, which is the level 0 Sumi Brainstorm. This is one that we've been talking about throughout the entire box opening. It enables cards like the 2/1 Sumi, the 2/1 Sumi support, as well as the 3/2 Sumi. And it is a card where if you are going to be running that Sumi package, you are going to want to run 4 of that card. And even if you aren't running that package, you will probably want to run 3 copies of that Sumi Brainstorm. You guys can see it on screen right now. It has a very, very like standard set of abilities. We've seen this exact set of abilities in other Brainstorms, such as the Nino in Quintessential Quintuplets, where it's a tap cell salvage Brainstorm. And additionally, when you reverse your opponent's character in battle, you get to choose one of your characters and give it 500 power until end of turn. So a very, very good card overall, and pretty much like the main Brainstorm that you would want to be running in Kanokari decks, unless you're playing like specifically waifu strategies. For our the other 2 red double Rs are the ones that we pulled with the level 0 Chizuru and the level 3 Chizuru. Both very, very solid cards. And lastly, for blue, we have our level 0 Ruka Clean Cut, and the other double R for blue is the level 1 Ruka. This is the one that we talked about earlier with the 1/1 event. So we'll go ahead and show that one on screen right now. It's a very, very solid level 1 combo with the ability to filter cards out of your hand with the discard cost, and also be able to mill through the deck quickly. You're able to look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 2 Kanokari characters from among them, or 2 Rent-A-Girlfriend characters from among them, add them to your hand, and send the rest to waiting room. So it's a very nice way to get a lot of hand fix and also mill through the deck at the same time. And you also have that advantage of being able to bring them out very easily off of the 1/1 event. So that concludes our box opening for Rent-A-Girlfriend. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to let us know by leaving a comment down below. Upcoming for our future content, we're going to have some waifu deck overview for each of the 4 waifu decks. Hope you guys are looking forward to seeing how each of these waifus function on their own, as they do each have their own unique strategies. And we're also going to, of course, be doing a meta deck profile, as well as having some gameplay for you guys to watch. So be sure to keep on the lookout for that. And until next time, this has been Randall, aka She's a Cats, on the Tressa's Collectibles channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.